It's a little bit strange, and let me end with this. It's a little bit strange to explain this to an American audience. You just saw, over the last 4 years, the biggest banks in America be either found guilty in the courtroom or guilty in government regulations of violating our trust in every activity they do. Let me go through it. Big banks have been caught and had to pay billions in fines for laundering money, knowingly handling criminals' money to enable that criminal enterprise to succeed financially. They've been caught manipulating global interest rates, a so-called LIBOR scandal, where they got caught. They've been manipulating foreign exchange rates. They recently got caught at that. They mishandled the mortgage crisis in 2008 and have had to pay big things. And they've overcharged you for everything from bounced checks to everything the banks do, they stole from us. And what is the discussion in the United States? Rules and regulations. Huh. We already had rules and regulations. It didn't work. More of them? You gotta be kidding. They got around them, they evaded them, they undid them. In the case of Glass-Steagall, they literally repealed them. Stop. Why in America is nobody saying, let's see, every single big private bank has ripped us off in every business that it does. Maybe we shouldn't have private banks. One last thing. And for those of you who don't know, we have a model for how to not have private banks, because 1 out of the 50 states in the United States doesn't allow private banks to function for the state. It's a state that takes all of the money, all the taxes paid by the people in that state in the 50, all the hunting license purchased, all the car licenses purchased, all the permits to put a dog run in your town, all that money is given to this state, which deposits it in the public bank owned and operated by the state, thereby saving millions every year that they would have otherwise paid to First National Bank or Citibank or Wells Fargo or any other big ones. This state in the United States has done that, run its own public bank for the last 100 years. That's right. The Bank of a really typical progressive American state, North Dakota. The farmers and folks in North Dakota have not let any governor, Republican or Democrat, touch it. They have repulsed every effort by the big banks to get rid of that. The people of North Dakota love the bank that serves them. And when the end of the year comes and the bank shows its profits from taking in deposits and making loans, the Bank of North Dakota takes the profits and gives it to the state of North Dakota, which owns it. And therefore the state of North Dakota charges less taxes to its people because it doesn't have to raise as much money at taxes, because it saves all of that and takes the profits of its bank as part of the revenue for the state government. Does it sound reasonable to you? Yes. That's why you don't know about it. Okay. If the North Dakotans can get away with it, what's wrong with Missouri? Or Kansas?
The Bank of North Dakota is different from private bank in a very simple way. A private bank takes your deposits and it pays you an interest on your deposit, and then it takes your money and lends your money to someone else and charges someone else more money than it's paying you, and it makes a difference in the spread. A state-owned bank has a different mission. Its mission is not to make a profit. Its mission is to serve the people of the state. It's able to take a really long-term view about what's the right thing to do for the people of the state at this moment in time. Right now it's a $4 billion bank. It's capitalized with the state's earnings. It is paying interest on that money to the state treasurer, and it's using that money to create different lending opportunities for North Dakota family farms, for farmers who want to diversify, for students who want to go to college. When the Bank of North Dakota was being set up, it had been a state for 30 years. 95% of the people were engaged in farming. It was being, in the grossest terms, ripped off by the interests out of Minneapolis and St. Paul and Wall Street interests. And it was practically impossible to make a living at anything. If you would go to borrow $100 from the bank, you would come back with $68 because they charge you 12% interest and a $20 origination fee. And the farmers were really mad. The opponents of a state-owned bank did everything they could possibly do to stop it from being established. They took 2 challenges to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court said, if the citizens of the state want to do this, they should be able to do it. And then there's a drought in the 1920s. And these farmers just had to see that dream turn sour when they couldn't pay not only the principal, but the interest on the loan that they had with the bank. And people would write notes to the bank on a torn sheet of paper. I would send it to you, but I don't have any. We don't have a crop. I haven't had a crop this year. I didn't have a crop last year. They didn't have money to even feed themselves, much less to pay a bank loan. The bank tried to collect the money. The Bank of North Dakota representative would just say, I can't take money from these people. They don't have any. And it became very clear in the early 30s, and this is when Bill Langer was governor, and Bill Langer created a moratorium on debt. So the bank stopped doing any kind of foreclosure and then allowed them to stay on the farms. When the economy turned around in the early 1940s, the bank sold those farms back to the original farmer at the price the bank had in them. The Bank of North Dakota is doing amazingly well, given the worldwide economic crisis that we're in. It's as strong as it's ever been. The fact that it isn't suffering any of the fallout from the financial crisis that the other banks are, I think attests to really the strength of the bank and actually the bank's mission. And they didn't invest in risky derivatives. They didn't buy any subprime home loans. It didn't fit the way that they did business. During the last 90 years, the bank has returned $500 million to the state's general fund. What that means is the state has been able to develop programs, $500 million worth of programs, without taxing the people of the state to do those programs. It really, in my mind, it doesn't matter if it's socialism or capitalism. What matters is what works best for the people, what provides the most services at the least cost.
Yeah, ball? Yeah. There is one simple reason young entrepreneur Cam Holt decided to return to his hometown of Williston, North Dakota. Money.
A lot of activity, a lot of opportunity for people like myself to get a jump start on life.
That jump start occurs behind the counter of Three Amigos Grill, where, since he set up shop in 2011,
Here you go, thank you.
business has boomed.
I got out here and realized it's on one of the busiest locations and probably the busiest town in the United States.
But despite the best circumstances, oil boom,
Everything on it?
high demand for restaurants, ideal location, getting Three Amigos off the ground and running was not a sure thing.
Banks typically don't like to lend on restaurants because there isn't really any hard assets into the loan that they give.
But this is not a typical part of the country.
Big fajita rice and beans.
And Holt concedes he's in business today because of one institution.
We might not have got the loan if it wasn't for the Bank of North Dakota.
The Bank of North Dakota, founded in 1919 to help control lending rates for farmers, is the only state-owned and operated bank in the country.
And over the years, it's morphed and changed into kind of a financier of economic development.
Chief Executive Officer Eric Hardmeyer has overseen part of that metamorphosis, which has brought record profits and growth.
In the last 4 to 5 years, this bank has gone from a $4 billion bank to a $7 billion bank.
Hardmeyer says what makes the bank unique, answering to taxpayers instead of shareholders, is one of the keys to its success.
We are here to, serve our mission, to finance agriculture, commerce, and industry.
That mission has proven successful and put Cam Holt in business. He was able to secure a loan for three amigos through a private lender backed by the Bank of North Dakota's small business program.
The Bank of North Dakota secures, I believe, up to 80% of the loan that we've got from First Western Bank and Trust. So it gives them an opportunity to take on more risk and give guys like myself the ability to come into a restaurant and start something that doesn't have any collateral to back it up, really.
Holt says most people he knows view the Bank of North Dakota as a benefit that attracts business to the state.
The Bank of North Dakota wants to see this oil boom sustain itself for a long period of time, so they want to see businesses like myself and other small business owners come in and put businesses into place here in the oil boom that are long-lasting and support the community.
And it's not just communities in the oil fields. Over the last decade, about $300 million from the Bank of North Dakota's profits were deposited into the state's general fund, reducing the overall burden on taxpayers statewide. Kane Fairbaugh, VOA News, Williston, North Dakota.